The night may be long and the dark may be deep, but the answers are there to be found. Whether it's the normal, the abnormal, or the paranormal, you're in the right place. Let's go beyond reality.
Great to have everybody along. We've got a really exciting show for you tonight. We've got a returning guest, someone we've had on the program a couple of times, and we always have a great time when she joins us. Cindy McGill, Master Dream Interpreter, will be with us tonight. We'll be talking about dreams in a general sense, and then we'll take your phone calls. And we'll put those phone calls throughout the course of the evening. So I'll tell you when to start calling. But you're going to want to write down the number. And this is if you've had a dream recently, maybe when you were a kid even. Or maybe one of your children is having a dream. Or your parents. Or a friend. Whatever it happens to be, if you've got a question about dreams, tonight is the night to call. I hope everybody is being safe. We had an incredibly devastating day, or the last 24 hours anyway, with this coronavirus, 1,000 deaths or so in the United States alone. The worst is yet to come. So just be safe, be smart, and put things in perspective. Make sure you take care of your families. That's most important right now. In addition to that, we're here, and we've got a lot of programs that can occupy some time for you. If you go to the YouTube channel and subscribe, you'll have access to about 600 back episodes. A lot of great discussions, some of them that touch on this very topic, this whole pandemic thing. We've had some experts on the show that offer their opinions as to what's going on. So go to YouTube, search for JV Johnson, subscribe to the channel, and then you'll have an opportunity. There's no fee or anything. You just have to hit the subscribe button. That's all it takes. And then you'll have access to all that programming, plus some special bonus programming on there as well. And I do want to encourage people to subscribe to the podcast version of the show. The podcast is a great way to keep up to date on what's going on, because sometimes, people can't catch the live show all of the time. So if you've subscribed to the podcast, it'll download to your smart device, whether it's your phone or your tablet or whatever it happens to be. Automatically, it'll be there for you when you're ready to listen to it. It used to be a time when we all commuted to work, or many of us did anyway, and we'd listen to things like Beyond Reality Paranormal as a podcast during our commute. Well, we're not. A lot of us aren't commuting right now, so but we still have some time, and sitting in the living room in a comfortable chair listening to the podcast is not a bad way to have a little bit of time pass. So anyway, it's all there for you. It's available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and other places. All the major distribution points for podcasts, you can find it. And I appreciate you subscribing and sharing it with your friends. Share the YouTube link, share the podcast link. Let everybody know on social media what's going on here, because we've got a lot of great discussions. And tonight will be no exception. As I said, we've got Cindy McGill coming on the program, Master Dream Interpreter. Please support the program. Go to patreon.com/Johaw. That's JOHAW. Returning guest, Cindy McGill. She's been here a couple times. We always have a great time when she's with us. She's a master dream interpreter. We'll be talking about dreams all night. We'll also be taking your phone calls at 607-282-4029. If you've had a dream that you are curious about, or you just have a question as it relates to dreams, we'll take all of those. And again, we'll open up those phone lines in just a few minutes. Write down the number, 607-282-4029. Cindy, welcome back to Beyond Reality Radio. It's such a great pleasure to have you back with us.
Oh, thank you. It's always fun to be with you.
It's a great time. And what have you been up to? I mean, I'm trying to remember when you were here last. It's got to be close to a year anyway, maybe 7-8 months, something like that.
Yeah, I think it was around maybe just before Christmas, or possibly a Thanksgiving. It's been a little bit.
It's been, and the way time flies anymore, you blink an eye and 3 months have gone by.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's just the way it happens anymore.
I know. It's very true. I mean, we're already into April.
We are into April. I mean, that's a third of the year is past, but now we're into some very, very strange times. And probably a good thing for us to do here would be open up this discussion talking about what we're facing. Because I'm assuming there's going to be some connections here to what you do and how you help people. But, we're looking at a world right now. And if we focus on closer to home, we're looking at a nation right now that is dealing with something that's rather unprecedented. Sure, we've had disease and we've had pandemics before, but the response to what we're seeing right now is something that we've never done before. And people are trying to find their way. What do you see that's going on?
Yeah, I feel like that we are in some very unusual times, things that we really haven't seen before. And I think what it does is it causes us to pay attention and to wake up and to begin to seek and see what things are we missing. In other words, what is it that we've not really known about things? This kind of came out of like a blind side,
Yeah, for sure.
We weren't expecting anything like this. And sometimes I think it's good for us to understand, well, what do we do? Where's our peace? Where is our truth? Where is our anchor? What do we hold on to in uncertain times? And I think it's a self-revelation for our own lives, for our families, for things like that. I think we begin to reassess and we take note of what have we been hanging on to, or what do we think was certain? It kind of reminds me of a few years back, maybe, it's probably 20 years now, but we lived in Oregon at that time, and we actually experienced an earthquake. And that was my first earthquake. I'd never been in one before. And it was so uncertain. It just shook us to the core. And we thought, we just didn't know how to handle that experience, and I think that's what we're facing now. This just came out of nowhere. In fact, there's been a couple of earthquakes. We used to live in Utah. There was one there. There was one in Idaho just recently. And it feels like things are kind of spinning out of control a little bit. And I feel like we're beginning to take note, reassess. Let's find out. Let's see. As you know, I have a strong connection, I think, to God. That's my source. But I feel like people. I know the God that I serve is a very present help in time of trouble. So I feel like I need to calm down. I need to be peaceful. I need to hear. I can't have knee-jerk reactions, and begin to, listen better to what's going on. That's where dreams come in, actually, too, because a lot of times we'll get messages way before they happen in dreams to give us warnings about certain things. And when we have them, I've written about some of them in my book, what your dreams are telling you, where, several people had dreams about the Titanic sinking before it did. Other people had dreams. Abraham Lincoln had a dream about his own death. There are warning dreams, that we need to pay attention to.
Yeah, and we're gonna get into a lot of that and all of it, but I want to stick on what's happening in the world today, because I'm curious about a few things as it relates to your work. Now, I mean, we can't deny that this is what we're seeing unfold in front of us is more of a nightmare than a dream. However, you made a good point, and you said, it kind of like you said, your example of being in an earthquake for the first time. Having never experienced it, when you did for the first time, it makes you question everything. It actually makes you prioritize things a little differently, which I think is a healthy process. It also makes you realize how precious life is, one, and B, how insignificant we can be. We get a little egocentric as humans as we walk around this planet. And this reminds us there are forces that are natural forces that have a lot of power, and we, in many cases, are powerless to stop them. And we're seeing that happen right now. Yeah,
we are. Yeah, and I think that's exactly what we need to do is we need to reassess. We need to begin to question things. I'm a firm believer that if you seek, you will find. And I begin to ask questions and find out just in my own meditation times, in my times where I'm quiet, before the Creator, and I want to hear what could be communicated to me either through dreams or just through impressions that I receive about things that kind of almost like put a a telescope up to your eye and you can see far off. You can see future things. I have operated in that gift for a while. I have been able to see things before they happen, which is another reason why I got into dream interpretation. And so I get very quiet in times like that when things are just out of control. There's things that I've discovered in my own spiritual journey that have really given me peace in a time of complete total chaos and turmoil and uncertainty. And so that's my journey. But yeah.
Yeah, so let's just a couple more quick questions about this coronavirus pandemic that we're dealing with right now. We will talk about some other precognitive dreams, but did you have anybody approach you with anything as you now know what's unfolding in front of us that you can look back and say, wow, that person saw this coming? Any of that come to you? You did have that?
Well, yes, I did. I've actually studied a number of people that I esteem as futurists or people who were able to see things before they happen. I would call them prophets. And I noticed that in 1986, I think there was a man who actually, David Wilkerson was his name, and he saw a plague going over New York City. He saw it shutting down airlines, businesses, everything. He saw people getting sick with a respiratory illness. And David Wilkerson, now he's, I think he passed away around maybe 3 to 4 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, but he's got some material out there that now, since he's gone, I've read some of his things, and I noticed even today it was kind of popping up on my Facebook feed a little bit. Several people were quoting that very little passage about 1986 when he saw this happening. And so there's a number of people that I've just discovered in my journey that have had certain things they could predict or see before. Yeah. There's another man that I followed, John Paul Jackson. He was actually one of my mentors in dream interpretation, and he had several encounters where he saw headlines. He saw 24 papers coming toward him. He saw the perfect storm. He's got all of this on YouTube videos. You can go back and watch. He passed away in 2014. And so he had, 2015, and he outlined a number of things through prophetic visions that he saw that happened now, that are happening now, and even some future things that haven't happened now. And he lines them out. And I'm going back, and I am in awe. I'm in complete and total awe at what was being shown to him. And he's since gone. I mean, he's now not even, he's passed on. And when in my book, when we were writing this book, there was a woman who actually had a dream about the tsunami over in Thailand. And she saw the airplanes tossed upside down. She saw all these different things, the water coming in and rushing. And she got a hold of me, and she had documented that dream a year before it happened. And she had a dream journal, and she had it noted and notarized. She knew it was that strong of a dream that something was going to happen, a tsunami, and she documented it. And I put it in my book.
Wow. What is it about some people being able to have these precognitive prophetic dreams? Not everybody has them, but it also doesn't seem to be concentrated with people who might have what we would consider to be psychic powers or anything. It just seems to be very random.
Yeah, I think there's gifts that are given to men. I think we're born with them, some of them, that, we just have the ability, special abilities to see things or to know things before they happen. I think the Creator puts us together in certain ways. We're all different. There's not a cell that's going to be anything like anyone else. We're all completely and totally different. Our DNA is different. Everything about us is different. And so when, we're being formed basically, and we're being birthed, we are I believe that we actually do have gifts that we're born with, and some people, connect them back to the Creator, and some people connect them to the universe or whatever else. But in my study, in my journey, I've noticed the most accurate have been the ones who have been had a God consciousness, and so that's been very intriguing to me, and that's where I've learned a lot of things, from that perspective.
Yeah.
So I believe we're born with it. I think I've met. I can't even tell you how many people we've met on the streets and different places where we've gone, and we've interpreted thousands and thousands of dreams all over the world. And there will be people who will tell me, I dream things and then they happen. I dream things and then they happen. And we'll listen to the dream, and we'll hear what they say. And we know that they've been given, they were born with that gift. They had that gift, and they oftentimes it was many times actually they were tragic. There was a relative or there was a friend or something, and someone was going to die in a car wreck or whatever, and I would say to them, if you have these dreams and you know that they're repetitive, and you're having experiences where you know things and then they happen, my suggestion is, I think we've talked about this before on other podcast or broadcasts with you, is to begin to maybe help the person make a different choice or decision so that they don't find themselves in that place at that time, with that kind of thing. So I kind of look at it like a search and rescue. You know what I'm saying? Like you can give a warning. If you get a warning dream about someone, you can say to them, I had this dream and I've had these before, and I'm not trying to freak you out or scare you, but I think that I want you to know that I've had a dream about you.
What do you do? What do you do, Cindy, as a dream interpreter, a master dream interpreter? What do you do, and what should the average person do? Let's say, you're getting ready to go away on a trip. And, your brother calls you, your sister calls and says, hey, I had a dream last night that you were traveling and the plane crashed. Do you not get on the plane?
I actually weigh it. I weigh it out, and I go to the airport and I listen very closely. If I get a premonition, if I get an impression that I shouldn't be on that plane, normally, and for my walk, for me, something will come up. I'll either not get on, or the plane will be overbooked, or it'll be delayed, or something. They'll find an issue with the plane, that kind of thing. So I ask God, honestly. I just say, is this something I need to pay attention to, or is this something that is, was a fear-based type dream from them, and they're just warning me. So I've just learned how to walk pretty cautiously and not have a knee-jerk reaction.
I mean, that's not a phone call I want to get, because that's a weird position to be put in. Although at the same time, maybe it's a blessing that you get I don't know. Well, let's move on, because this one's hurting my head.
Sorry.
Just getting back to this again, this situation we're in right now. Is there a way that dreams individually can help us get through this?
Yes. Yes, I'm pretty sure that's going to be amped up. I believe that there's going to be more and more dreams that will be given to us, especially in troubled times and times when we can't figure it out on our own. I think dreams are a very important vehicle. They're a very important portal of communication from the Creator to the creation. And I believe that you do get understanding, and you do get warning, and you do get the ability to see things or to know things, or to things will be unpacked for you in a dream that you wouldn't normally get just waking hours. Because when we're awake and we know that we're in a situation like we're in right now, we have a tendency to get freaked out. And so we're trying to navigate with, it feels like we have a blindfold on, kind of, And so when we're not panicked, when we're sleeping, when we're in a peaceful place, or in a place where we're not striving to understand or to figure things out, that's when, in my experience, that's when a lot of the dreams of instruction will come, and they will give us an insight as to our part. What is it that we need to do? And we found that even with the Native American tribes and different ones, there were, that they would pilot their entire battles or efforts through dreams. We've known, all throughout, of course, even the birth of Jesus, the earthly father Joseph was given 3 dreams in a very precarious time, and he didn't even know what was going on. And he was given 3 dreams of what to do during that time to keep Jesus alive. So I think that when we have these kinds of situations, dreams increase. I think when the more troubled the situation is, or the time is, or things like that, I believe that if we calm down and we ask for the Spirit of Truth to give us a dream, I believe that it will happen. And I believe that there's a communication. I have a concept, of course. I think God's always trying to talk to us. I think he's always trying to talk to us. We're just not always in a place to listen.
Is dreaming one of the most common ways, whether it's God or some other spiritual connection, for those who might not think that way? Is that where most of these messages will come from?
Well, it's a real solid one.
Yeah.
I mean, some people have deja vu, or they'll see signs, or different things. There's other ways that people have determined how to plot their course, but dreams are pretty legit. I mean, they're just a pretty valid way of being able to communicate. And I think they send us on a search. I do. I think that they begin to send us on a search. I believe there's dreams that impact us on such a level that we have to seek a matter out. We need to find out what's going on. We need to understand some things. We have to, begin to search out, in my experience, the scripture for me, I'll go and search things out and see, is there a pattern? Is there something that I need to follow? Is there a message that I need to be paying attention to? And that's been a real help for me. It's been a solid pathway for me and a journey for me. So, but there are, of course, other ways. You'll have people, and I have friends even, that are very accurate in calling out information about a specific person, dates, their birthday, their middle name, their address, that kind of thing. And then they have a word of encouragement for them, a word of a future that will give them something to hold on to, like handlebars, or some sort of like something to hold on to that gives them a hope for their future. And that's intriguing to me as well. So I believe we're in times like we've never seen before. And just what we're talking about with all this crazy virus and this weird, the way that it's not, it's unpredictable. People are learning about it. This is something we've never had this happen before. So, we're looking for, how do we, what is there to learn? Yeah, I guess would be my thing. What is there to learn about what we're experiencing right now? And then how do we become better prepared for anything that would happen, earthquakes, tornadoes, tidal waves, whatever it might be, whatever thing that might try. What is it that how can we be better prepared,
Cindy McGill is our guest tonight, master dream interpreter, also author of the book, What Your Dreams Are Telling You, Unlocking Solutions While You Sleep. Her website is cindymcgill.org. Cindy, before we get back into the questions that I have, one of the folks in our chat room was asking about the name that you offered in the first part of our discussion when we were talking about prophetic dreams. A gentleman that you said passed away in 2014. Yeah. I can't remember the year exactly. Who was that? They're looking for the name.
It's John Paul Jackson, and he has a website. He has a business called Streams. It's actually called Streams Ministries, but he was a real mentor to me in the early days of learning to interpret dreams. And he had a dream show, actually. I think you can still catch that on his YouTube. And John Paul Jackson, he's got a number of resources, and he's got a number of prophetic type of things that he left video-wise. He told what he saw coming for the days that now we're living in, and they're starting to happen. So, and he, like I said, I think he passed away. I think it was in 2015. So it was quite interesting. It's just like I said, there's so many things we don't know. There's so many things that we just think, oh, well, yeah, sure. But when we begin to do our research and we seek and we search a matter out, or we search about things, that's when I think that we begin to gain more and more clarity and understanding, and things begin to make sense. And sometimes we can even see a pattern developing. And like all of us have our own pathway and our own journey and things that we do and how we discover how to live life or walk a path. But it's just been a real interesting journey for me. I've discovered people that I never thought I would ever meet or hear from, and then some, like I said, David Wilkerson, that little thing that kept coming up every day for a couple of days now. Yeah. In 1986, he saw the plague coming over New York, and he saw, the hospitals full, and he saw the businesses shut down and banks shut down and different things. And again, 1986. So, wow. It's fascinating.
It
really is.
It is very fascinating. Let's talk about the substance of dreams a little bit and get a sense of what we think we know about them, because I know they're somewhat mysterious and nebulous. But are dreams a physical, a biological creation, or are they spiritual, or is it a combination of all of the above?
It's a combination, I think, of both. I think we're created to dream, and so that's a physical thing. But I think that dreams can come from, you can have dreams that come from different spiritual sources as well. And then you have your own dreams that just come from your human spirit. They just come out because of things that we've concluded or they're... let's just say, you have a crush on this person or that person, and you've given attention to it, and your feelings have gone that direction. And now in your dream life, you're living out a fantasy, or you're living out something about that person that, you've had an affection for, or something like that. So those are, I call them soul dreams or self-revealing dreams, just about you. They don't have a lot of maybe truth to them. Maybe they do, but I've noticed if people, let's just say a person, a college student, just, hops from this person to that person to this person to that person, well, you'll notice that they'll have a dream about the person, whichever one they're with now, right? So those would be self-revealing type dreams, or what I would call soul dreams. They're from the emotional realm. But then you've got, the spirit aspect, where you've got dreams that will come from a negative source. They'll come from, because we live in a spirit world. I always think that we're spirit beings having a temporary human experience. That's the way I like to think.
It's a good way to put it.
A temporary human experience.
It's a temporary, it's a moment of temporary human insanity in some cases.
Exactly, right. And so, you know, you have to kind of discover the source, and I did talk about that in my book too. You know, discover the source, find out where it's coming from, and begin to that way you can conclude and understand where you need to go with it, and if it's something you need to pay attention to. The most important dreams or the most instructive dreams that I've interpreted and have had myself, I've had to consider the source. Where is this coming from? Is this coming from me? Is it coming from self, truth, or a lie? Where is it coming from?
Right.
If it's coming from a lie, then I don't need to pay any attention to it. I don't need to act on it. I don't need to take action on it. If it's coming from self, I just need to come to a self-realization about some things that probably need to shift in my life. If it's coming from the spirit of truth, I need to pay attention. I need that's going to have me take action. That's going to want me to do something about it, or to give me more insight or something that I need to pay attention to. So those are the three that I've discussed in my book under a framework for a proper dream interpretation. And so once you discover the source, then you examine the message, especially, if it's a lie. Like I said, you can understand that it's just a false dream. Okay, it's something that isn't going to benefit you in the future. So you can still discover the elements of the dream and just kind of pass it on. If it's a self dream, you want to do a self-realization. Where do I need to change? What do I need to correct? What's taking up my emotion? What's pulling me in a certain direction? And if it's a dream from the spirit of truth, that's going to lead me and guide me into all truth. So I need to pay attention to that, and that's something I may need to take action on. So, and then I take apart the dream. I begin to look at all the aspects of the dream. How do they fit together? What's the focus of the dream? What's the sub-focus of the dream? And then how does it apply to a life, my life, or a life of the person I'm interpreting for? How does it, and even if it's a scary dream, we have a lot of, that are people being chased and axed up and knife. I mean, just name it. It's just, and they're all gory and people are freaking out and sweating while they're telling me the dream. And I always turn it around and I think, well, okay, that chances of that happening are 1 in about I don't know, 1 million. But what was the real purpose? What is this thing coming after? In other words, let's look at your value, because that's what's being attacked. It's because you have value and you have purpose and you have something that you're created that way to benefit the earth in some way. So what is it coming after? And then I begin to build on that and give them something to take away. What is the takeaway? The takeaway is you have future, you have a hope. You're not meant for destruction. You're meant for purpose. You've got so many things available to you and through you that will benefit this earth in the life that you're living right now. That's why you're still here. And so that's where I go with these being chased and tormenting type dreams. I look at, well, where were you being tormented?
Yeah, I want to talk about those types of dreams specifically, but before we do that, I want to jump to our phone lines. And by the way, if you're trying to get through, the number is 607-282-4029. This is Leanne from Illinois. Hi, Leanne. Welcome to the program.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Well, thanks for calling. What's on your mind?
Well, I have 2 types of dreams. I have hilarious dreams, and then I have night terrors. There's no in between.
Okay.
You have
the night terrors are to the point where I actually will scratch myself accidentally. And the funny dreams, I wake up laughing.
Do you have these dreams the same night? Like, will you have a funny dream and then have a night terror all in the same night, or are they spread out in different nights?
No, it's either or. There's not in the same evening or night.
Do you want to share any specifics with Cindy on either of those dreams?
Well, the hilarious dreams are usually from a past relationship that is no longer. Okay. Pretty funny. And then the night terrors, there's no rhyme or reason. There really isn't.
Yeah.
But it's always a really intense life or death. And as I indicated, I usually, most of the time, end up scratching myself or something to that effect, unfortunately.
Yeah, so there's a real dichotomy there. What do you think about that, Cindy? There's no in-between for Leanne.
Yeah, I think it tells me something about her. I think you're really black and white. I think that, and what I mean by that is things are very, they're very, you see things either very positively or very negatively. And I think when the night terrors come, they're to try and trip you up during a time when you should be advancing. I know that night terrors are, they're traumatic. I mean, and you really don't have a lot of control during that time. My grandson used to have them, and he would stand up in the bed and we couldn't even get him awake. And he would beat the wall and he would do things, we would have to try and get him to lay back down and come out of this night terror. And that's exactly, it's a definition of what that is. It's just a tormenting type dream that comes in the nighttime. But I feel like that this would be a suggestion for you so that you can begin to have dreams that are directional, that give you some forward, something to look forward to. And that would be that every night before you go to bed, if you would just put your hands out and just ask for a calm and peaceful, meaningful, truthful dream to be given to you that night. And I believe that if you do that, that you'll begin to see a change up in your dream life. I think it'll start to make a difference. Mm-hmm. And I think you'll begin to have some really clear, meaningful type dreams.
Now that's interesting.
Yeah.
So I can direct myself prior to going to sleep at night.
I believe you can. I think you can. And if you just state it out your mouth, because your words have power. And so you can actually begin to say something out in the atmosphere and put your hands out and say, I want peaceful, calm, revealing, truthful dream tonight. And I would do this in repetitive form, even over for a week or two, and see if things don't begin to change in your whole dream life. Because I noticed that when people pay attention to them, they start having more dreams. Because people would say to me, well, I don't dream, or I don't remember my dreams, or this or that. Well, you do. You dream every night. But if you don't remember them, I think if you pay attention to them, if you consciously begin to pay attention to them, then it awakens you. I think it awakens you in yourself. It awakens you in the spirit realm for you to be able to receive information. So I would suggest you try that.
Thanks for the call, Leanne. I do want to ask one follow-up question to that. What about the fact that she scratches herself, Cindy? Is that common, or is it just, you're moving your hands around? If you happen to have fingernails, you're going to end up scratching yourself regardless?
Yeah, it is common. People do often hurt themselves during a night terror. Like I said, it's kind of like they're really hard to get awake. It's a tormenting type of a dream. It comes and it takes over a person. I noticed that sometimes people, when they're on Ambien or there are different things, they'll get up and make a full meal and eat it and everything, and not even remember that they did it. Well, the same type of thing can happen in a night terror. It just begins to consume you pretty much because you're in such a deep sleep that you can scratch yourself. You're fighting it off probably. And so you'll notice that you'll have little scratches on your face or whatever, if you're flailing your arms around or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Again, thank you, Leanne, for the phone call. If you're trying to get through, the telephone number is 607-282-4029. We did have a question scroll through our chat room here. Abby wants to know, is there any particular meaning if you have recurring dreams about trains or train cars?
Yes. It's actually a very common dream. Trains have to do with being on the right track. They have to do with taking you in a direction that you're meant to go. And it's also training. So you're in training for something. So it's educational. And so it's a play on words oftentimes. But if you're getting on a train or getting off of a train, you're either coming out of something that you've been learning, or you are going on to something that you will be learning, and you'll be on a right track that will be taking you to a destination. Yeah.
Is that true of any kind of transportation type dream, whether it's a plane, cars, trains, anything like that?
They all have different meanings. Planes, it's more of I'm going to call it more of a visionary type of a dream, where you're up higher. It's kind of like a flying dream, where you have the special ability to see from a different level. And so it's going to take you up above your playing field on the ground, right? It's going to give you another perspective from a higher level. Okay, so that's what planes can be. And other people, if you're on a plane with other people, then they're all going in the same direction you are. So there's a whole bunch of you going on that journey, so to speak. Cars, it has to do with your life. So that means if it's your car that you have now, it's present tense. If it's a car that you used to own, it's past tense. If it's a car you've never owned, then you have to determine the type of car that it is. I had a dream once where I was driving in a Ford Explorer, and at that time I did not have a Ford Explorer. But I was in one. And so that had a double meaning. It meant that I was on an exploration. I was on some sort of a journey. I was on a hunt for something, right? And I was passing waterways, and I saw fish jumping. So I got out and got my pole and caught a fish. And so I knew that it was going to benefit me somehow, like this journey was going to fish or provision. So it had to do with, being on a journey that was going to benefit me in some way. It was going to be healthy. It's a good thing. So I had to interpret the fact that I was in a Ford Explorer, but I didn't have one at the time. So anytime people tell me dreams about, well, I was in this car, well, is it your car? And then, are you driving, or is someone else driving? If someone else is driving, they're in control of your life. They're taking you in places that you may or may not want to go. So all of these things are important. And that's why, I have some symbols in the back of my book, but I don't always go by that, because you have to have the whole dream to see the picture, to know how to better interpret the dream, right?
Right.
Because otherwise I'm pulling stuff out of the air.
Well, that was one of my questions, because, and I know we've talked about several of these concepts in our other discussions, but I like asking the questions again because we have constantly new people listening. But when it comes to certain images, like we talked about trains, we just talked about cars, we talked about planes, we talk about these things. But from what I'm understanding and what I'm hearing you say is that those meanings can change depending on the person, the situation the person finds themselves in. It's really different from individual to individual, isn't it?
It is. Absolutely it is, because dreams are going to communicate to you about you or the way that you think. For instance, some people can have a dream about dogs, and if they love dogs, then they're friendly and they're comforting and they bring joy to the person. But if they hate dogs, or they've been bit by a dog, or they're very deathly afraid of dogs, and they have a dream about dogs, it takes on a whole new meaning. So, now it's an enemy. It's not a friendly thing. It's not something that, that is going to be, they're not going to want to entertain it. They're not going to want to have a dog around. So all of these types of dreams, again, you have to identify, those things before you can give an accurate or, hopefully accurate interpretation to the dream. Yeah.
We had another question go through our chat room here, and this is about group dreams. The question is, can people, multiple people, have the same dream and not know that they're all having the same dream? And are we seeing any increase in that type of activity?
Yes. The answer is yes.
To both?
They can all, yes. You were seeing an increase in it because a lot of people are getting messages about the same thing. For instance, they can all have teeth falling out dreams, and we'll be at for instance, a Sundance Film Festival, because we did that for so many years, and we'd go out one night to interpret dreams, and we'd have, within 15 to 20 minutes, we had a 6 teeth falling out dreams. And so we thought, well, then they're all dreaming the same thing. In other words, it's a time where this is, and teeth falling out is one of the number one dreams, by the way. And what that really means is when you're getting ready, usually I'll start with, you're getting ready to make a big decision. Something's coming up that you didn't expect, and you're losing your teeth. And when you lose your teeth, then you don't have anything to bite down details. If you're going to sign contracts or enter into a marriage or buy a house or whatever it might be, you want to make sure that you go back and examine what you're doing, make sure it's the right time and it's the right thing and that you're not missing anything. Because if you don't have teeth, you'll swallow something whole. And when I went with that type of interpretation with these people within let's say an hour's time, and there were that many dreams, then almost always it's exactly where they were in their life, and that was what was happening to them. So yes, to both. Many people can have the same dream, or at least have the same element within the dream, and a few variables that would be specific to them individually. But it gives me a heads up as to, there's this whole thing now going on with people making decisions. So all these, the same thing with flying dreams. I'll find we'll be out at some sort of a event. We'll be interpreting dreams, and here's all these people with flying dreams, And I have teams, so I have like 50 dream interpreters on the streets, and they'll come back and go, oh my gosh, we just had like 6 flying dreams, and I'm like, well, I had at least 5. And so now we know that people are being activated in their gifting. They're being able to be lifted up at a time when they need to see things from another level. There's a bird's eye view, or there's something that's happening that they need another perspective about. And so it's really, like I said, it's intriguing. It's fun because we don't know these people and they don't know us, and they don't know each other.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I want to ask about nightmares, but I also have some other questions that I'll ask about scary dreams in a little bit. But this one specifically, because I've had this happen to me recently. What is it about a dream where you actually are quite terrified, yet the dream itself isn't scary? It could be you're just walking down the street, but yet your body is reacting as though you're having a terrifying dream.
Yeah. Well, again,
is that not common? You sound like maybe you haven't heard that too many times.
No, I have heard it.
You have.
It's not a lot, but yes, I have heard it. And what I think is that, again, we have a whole spirit world going on all around us all the time. And it's like that would be likened to walking into a place you've never been before, or a restaurant or whatever, and you just have this weird feeling. You can't put your mind around it.
Yeah.
You don't really know. You don't have knowledge of it. It's just that something tells you that something's off, like I need to possibly leave, or it's not where I'm meant to be, kind of thing. So I would kind of liken it like that, like you're walking down the street and all of a sudden your spirit is reacting to something that you don't see with your natural eyes and you don't understand with your natural mind. And it doesn't mean that it's not, it could be a warning. I'm thinking for you, it could be something of, hey, heads up, you're reacting to something that isn't visible yet. And you don't know what it might be, but you just felt like, I need to get out of here. I've had that happen to me. Like, I just got to get out of here.
And sometimes in my personal experience, and when I have quote unquote nightmares, this is how they tend to be. It's the situation I'm in the dream isn't necessarily frightening, but there's an overwhelming sense of dread that I am feeling from whatever it is that is happening. And it's dread. Mm-hmm. That's the best way to describe it.
Have you had a lot of disappointments? Yeah.
Do I have to answer that?
No, you don't.
But the answer is, of course, is particularly in this kind of business, it's always up and down.
Sure.
But yeah. So I mean, that sense of dread is probably more disturbing than just being scared.
Right. Yeah. Right. Because if you dread something, you're just feeling like I'm just a failure, or it's just not going to work out, or it's just one more disappointment. It's one thing on top of another type of thing. And I just dread it. I just don't want to do it. I just don't have the energy to keep going or whatever. And so I feel like, again, that I would interpret something like that to say, well, if you're dreading it, if it's something that you're not into, or it's just not getting it for you anymore, I would say, then it's possibly that you're getting uncomfortable enough to make a choice and a different change in your life about something. So, that you're like, there's something better for me, and it's not here, kind of thing. That's happened a number of times with people when they're getting ready to, I don't know, move to a different state, or they're just uncomfortable. Things just aren't right. And we had that happen when we moved from Utah to Texas. We just got uncomfortable. It was just time for us to go, and we knew it. And then we couldn't put our mind around it. We just dreaded being there anymore. And we knew that it was time for us to leave. So we did. Yeah.
I have a question here scrolling through the chat room, and it's about the frequency of a dream. And I guess this can be asked in two ways. One is, if you have a dream enough times, does that increase the possibility that it may come true? Or is the reverse true? Is something that is a prophetic dream one that you will have frequently?
Yeah, it's. I think if you have a dream that you keep having over and over again, we actually look for those. Have you had a dream that you've had more than one time, or one that you just can't shake off? That's usually our tagline of how we get people to tell us their dreams. The ones that are repetitive, it's like a knock on the door. There's something you need to pay attention to if you're having a repetitive dream, and it's like it's going to keep knocking until you answer the door. Like you're going to keep having it until you do something or pay attention to it or seek a matter out about that dream to find out what it is. And it'll trouble you. Those repetitive dreams will trouble you. They'll just keep going on and on and on until your life choices are changed, until you make a choice, you change a direction. I have an example of that where there was a young man that we had met, and it was up at Sundance again, and it was he'd had a repetitive dream 3 nights in a row, 3 nights every week for something like 6 years. The same dream.
Oh, wow.
Over and over. Yeah, that's torture. That's just torture. And we're like, oh my gosh. Well, it was like, well, then you've been having this for 6 years, 3 nights a week for 6 years. What is it that you were doing 6 years ago that you stopped doing, or you got off course, that brought you to a place where you're being challenged to re-examine what you left, because something's nagging at you to get you to pay attention? And it was, the dream was, he was always in baseball, and he couldn't find his glove. He was late to the game. He couldn't get his locker open. He couldn't find his shoes, that kind of thing. Those are those dreams where everything you try and do to get in the game is frustrating.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I've had dreams like that. Yeah, go ahead.
And so we found out was he was raised by a single mom, and his football coach or baseball coach was his mentor, was his male role model. And when he turned 18, 19, he decided to leave his town, and he took off to Europe, and he went and he got off track. He just went out and started exploring the world. And, and we've all done certain things like that. When we get older, we just want to go see what's out there and stuff. But what had happened is he had left his counsel. He'd left good counsel. He'd left someone who cared about him and poured themselves out for him and took him in as a son. And he didn't have that covering anymore. He didn't have that access to the fathering aspect of this man. And he had just been, when we saw him, he had just been back home to his hometown for a funeral, and he saw that man again. Ooh. And he said, "What have you been doing?" And he said, "Not good." The kid said, "I haven't been good. I haven't been doing good. I've been blowing money. I've been doing drugs. I've been doing this." And the guy who was like the baseball coach was just kind. He was a father. Mm-hmm. He wrapped his arm around him. He just told him, let's reconnect. Let's just get back together. He didn't make him feel bad. He didn't say mean things to him. And he was, we knew exactly what that was. You need to get back in the game. But in order for you to do that, you're going to have to change your direction. In other words, you're going to have to get off this merry-go-round of careless living and everything that you're doing, and get with your purpose and get with what you're meant to do. And the guy just, he said, "I got to go call this guy," and he did. He went up to the room and called the man who was his mentor all these years. And I'm sure I didn't see him again, but I'm pretty sure that dream stopped.
Wow.
After that.
Let's jump to our phone lines here. This is Tyler calling from California. Hey, Tyler, welcome to the program.
Hey, JV, how you doing?
Terrific. Thank you. What's on your mind, my friend?
Awesome. Yeah, so I was just wondering, I've been having, every time I have dreams lately, they've all happened at the home I grew up in. Like no matter what the subject of the dream is, it's always at the home that I grew up in.
Let me ask you this before I let Cindy take a crack at it there. Is it comforting to you that that's the case?
Not always,
no?
Actually. It doesn't matter what the dream is, whether it's bad or good, it's always there.
Gotcha. Cindy, what do you think about that?
I think that's a very common dream. A lot of times people will have dreams about the house they grew up in. It has to do with generational. It has to do with addressing something during the time that you actually lived in that house. It has to do with your forming years. And you said it was a house you grew up in, so that tells me that it has to do with something of identity. It has to do with things you were groomed for, you were told about, and there's something that needs to be revisited. Sorry, there's an echo, so I'm just I can hear myself. There's something that you need to go back and revisit that you're going to connect with, that's going to be another piece of your puzzle about your life. And it's going to give you direction, and it's going to give you, you're going to reconnect and pick up where you left off, so to speak. So it's a very common dream. It's common to be the age you are now, back in your high school, or something like that. So it's just something that has to do with your identity.
I'm sorry. Tyler, go ahead. What were you saying?
Oh, sorry. So, yeah, both of my parents actually passed away to the day a year apart. One was cancer and one was a heart attack, so I wasn't sure if that had something to do with it.
Is that when the dreams started?
It started after both of them were gone.
After
maybe
they
like
both
a year
passed.
After
they both passed. Does that affect it, Cindy?
Well, I think it yeah, I mean, that would definitely have something to do with your dream. You're missing them. You're missing that part of your life. You're missing those formative years. You're missing all of the rearing that you had, from your parents. And but it defines you. It brings you into your identity and who you are and what was invested in you during those years living in that house. And we all have times where we've lived a certain time in our lives in younger years. You go past that house again, and all this flood of memories comes back, right? When you see the house and you see that place again, or you smell that smell again, or whatever. And I think that's what's happening, is that you're connecting with what you learned when you were younger that was giving you direction for the rest of your life. That's going to give you purpose and direction. And I wouldn't be surprised if you have dreams where one of your parents, because they're both passed now, would come back to you in a dream. It's not that the parent would be coming back, but it's the memory or the message that they had for you during that time while they were on the earth. And I wouldn't be surprised if you have some dreams like that where they actually come and they, talk to you or comfort you or give you, you just see them, and it brings you back to when you were growing and you were learning, and it's a connection, you have a connection.
Tyler, thank you for the phone call. Let's go to, this is Catherine in Michigan. Hi, Catherine. Welcome to the program.
Hi.
What's on your mind?
Hi.
I have lots of dream of my recently dead loved ones. Does that mean anything? Are they trying to give me messages?
Well, again, I think that we have had those types of dreams told to us many, many times. And I do think that it has something to do with you missing them. Okay, so that's your heart and your emotions. People that they're loved ones, they're people that are no longer here, and you miss them, and you have affection toward them. Also, whatever they did offer you or give you while they were on this earth and while they had a part of your life, what was some of the value? What was some of the valuable things that you took away or you learned from them while they were with you? And it's a mix. It's a mix between your emotional connection because you miss them, because you can't go back and see them anymore. And so it's a bit of an emotional connection that brings you comfort, but it also makes you wish that they were there. But again, it's propelling you forward into your growing up and assuming your identity. But it's also things that they could have imparted to you or given to you, counsel, whatever, that how did they affect your life? How were they, how meaningful were they? And what did they do and say when they were with you and before they passed on, So I think it's great when that kind of thing happens. I know you wake up and you feel like, oh man, I'm not forgotten, and I miss them and I love them. And, so it's not a bad thing at all.
Did you feel comforted by those dreams at all,
Yes.
Catherine? You did. Well,
yes.
That's huge in itself, I think.
And I don't believe, I actually believe it was like a premonition or a message, because I don't have it all the time.
Yeah.
But, sorry.
No, it's okay.
No, it's okay.
It was a message because I remember there was a time after my mom died, my dad and I were talking a lot about my mom, and because he outlived her, and all of a sudden I had a dream of her saying, "I'm okay," and she was crocheting, which that's what she always did when she was alive, and that was it.
Wow.
And I also have many pictures of dead people in my house. Okay, I'm not nuts, but I have many pictures of dead loved ones, shadow people, stuff like that. So,
Right.
and that was the only time my mom came to me. My dad has come to me to wake me up.
Oh, wow.
He would say, Catherine, and he was the only one that called me Catherine, him or my mom. Even though that's my full name, nobody else called me that. And I'd wake up and there was something going on, like a message. You know,
there you
like
go.
get up and go do this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Right.
I believe in that. I believe that, you know, I know we're mourning. I believe in all that, but I also believe that I think it's more than mourning. I think sometimes our loved ones are just there.
Yeah.
They're watching us. They're like guardian angels. They're giving us messages because, you know.
Well, I think that's rather wise, Catherine, and I'm glad you find the comfort in that, because my next question, and thank you for the phone call and sharing your story, by the way, but my next question for Cindy is, Cindy, what about dreams that help us deal with grieving? And just to bring my own personal experience into this, I lost both of my parents a few years apart, and my father passed away several years before my mom, but I didn't dream about him at all until after my mom died. Then I dreamed about them both.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we process things and grief differently. Everyone grieves differently. And it's interesting because when we do have a loved one that passes on, we are going to go into a grieving time. And there's no way to do it. Okay. You're just going to have to work through it. You're going to have to grieve the way you do. And when you have dreams about your parents or people like that you love so much and that you dream about them together, well, then it tells me that they are together. And like our Catherine just said, you know, the mom came in, she was knitting and said, I'm okay. It's almost like a part of that, a closure, like I'm okay. I'm good. Like I'm not here on this earth, but I'm definitely okay. I'm in a place that is where there's no more fear, there's no more pain, there's full of comfort. You know, it's like they're in a place where they're not having to deal with or go through anything that we're going through on this earth. And so it is a part of the grieving process. And we hear that a lot, and we've known people that I've had that happen myself, and we've also known people that have had that happen where, you know, it's part of your grieving. It could happen 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 years from now. So no one can tell someone how long they should grieve or how they should grieve or any of that. It's all going to be individual according to the way you're made and how you process things and how you come to terms with, you know, the fact that you're in a new place, a new season, a new life, because these people aren't with you now. And so now you're moving on through your life with that part missing in the natural realm, but not in the spirit realm. So
several people in our chat room have used the line, "I don't dream," and I've always been told or heard that even if you don't remember that you had a dream, you dreamt. That's something that we do every night. What's the truth? Do we know?
Yes, it is the truth. You have, I actually have it in my book. You dream every night. Most people dream about 4 dreams a night. And so you'll have around 1,400 dreams each year, even if you don't remember them, because it is part of your makeup. It's part of the way you are. And so every night you will have research. This is research that shows that everyone has around 4 dreams each night. Those deprived of dreams actually become irritable, have difficulty concentrating, and hallucinate. Even more significant, if you were deprived of both food and dreams, you would die sooner from lack of dreams. So that means research shows that you spend 1/3 of your life sleeping, and you have 4 dreams each night. That's 1,400 dreams each year. And by the time you're 40, about half your life, you will have had over 56,000 dreams. And 80% of the times, the babies that are sleeping, they are dreaming. So we've gone back and we've recorded and we found some research to support the fact that people are dreaming. Your mind is still working, even though you're not conscious of it, or you're in such a deep sleep or a REM sleep, you may not understand or know that it's happening, but it is. If you're on medication, if you have Ambien or stuff like that, puts you in a really deep sleep, you won't be able to have as vivid dreams. You won't probably remember as much about your dreams, but you're still dreaming. If you can, what I do is I try and, when I'm waking up, I'll try and hold on. Somebody said recently, the dreams that I wake up with are like, sometimes dreams are like disappearing ink. Like, you've had them, but you can't see them anymore, right? So
that can happen quickly. That can have. I mean, I know I've woken up and within 10 minutes I've forgotten what I clearly remembered when I woke up.
Yeah, and if you can hold on to one element in the dream, like just one major element, like a big theater room or a lake or whatever it might be that was in that dream, if you can hold on to one element or one person or one thing that was in that dream, it's almost like prophetic recall. You'll start going back and you'll start dreaming it again. And I've had that happen to me many times. I've just one element, just hold on to one thing.
Yeah. Let's go back to the phones. This is Danny calling from California. Hi, Danny. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you.
You're welcome. What's on your mind? Danny, you there?
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear us? Sounds like you might be in a car or something. Can you hear us? Hello, Danny?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, what's on your mind?
Hello?
Danny?
Hi, I had a dream. Hi.
Hello? Danny, I'm going to put you... can you hear us right now?
Yeah.
Okay. You said you had a dream. What's your dream about that Cindy can help you with?
I had a dream a few nights ago, and I was sitting in a room facing a computer screen, and I was watching a young girl, probably college age, sitting at her computer, and we were trying to, both of us, we were trying to get connected onto like some sort of an online class, and as we were doing that, the professor was telling us how to do it. And then as we were trying to get connected, just doing our thing, the girl asked, and I was watching her through my computer screen, watching her as she was doing this. And she asked the professor what we were learning about, and he started talking. And as soon as he mentioned that the character in like the book or the movie or whatever we were learning about, he had like killed dogs, she just freaked out, and then she like threw something at the computer screen, and I was watching her do this, and then she started almost convulsing, like almost having seizure-like actions, and there was off to the side of where she was, there was like a little almost projector-looking thing, and it had a camera, and it had a red laser beam pointing right at the camera that I was viewing everything through. And she fell on the floor and started having weird things, and then the light turned off and it went dark, and the light turned back on, and I think it was someone in her family, but it was a male, and he came in, he was trying to help her, and as he was trying to help her, the camera with the red laser beam, it was like looking around almost, and then the laser started to get thicker and it was just thicker, and it was just there. And then the guy said to the girl, well, at least he's not alive. And the camera started, like something broke on the camera, and then it started shooting, like almost like it was shooting parts from the device it was. And then after it started shooting at them, they got quiet. And then the camera, like it kind of broke down, and then it ended up right in front of the screen that I was watching. Like I was watching through a lens, and it came right in front, and it was right in front of the view. And then I don't remember which word, but it either said hide or it said run.
Whoa.
Yeah.
My question before I let Cindy tackle that is, did you recognize the girl at all?
No, I don't know who it was supposed to be.
It was a stranger, from what you can tell. And we just talked about how it's difficult for some people to remember dreams at all. And clearly, Danny has a lot of detail, remembered a lot of this particular dream. What do you think of that dream?
Yeah. Oh, it's a fear-based dream. She's observing in the dream, so it's not really affecting her personally, but she's just seeing something. So what she's being shown something, a scenario. And in this case, it happened to be a professor that was killing dogs and the girl that they were trying to connect, or they were going to take the same class or whatever. And the girl couldn't stand that, and she began to freak out, and she convulsed, and all this weird stuff started happening. And then the thing was hide or run. And I think that, it has to do with probably just a fear-based dream, something that is actually, it's unfortunately very common in your, I don't know how old you are, Danny, but in the younger generation, running and hiding is not something that they don't do. They have to protect themselves a whole lot more. And I think that possibly this is just something that's going on in your culture. It's going on in your time of learning or training and that kind of thing. I think that you're just being shown these things are happening. There's certain things that are just out of control. That seemed like the whole thing was, I kept hearing the word out of control. It's just out of control. And the message for the lens was run and hide, but I don't know that that's for you. I think it was just maybe echoing a generation that is like freaking out over any number of things. I think that it's a good idea for you to protect yourself, of course. I don't think that you need to have a knee-jerk reaction to a dream like that, but I think it's a fear-based dream. And I think also it tells me that you're in a learning stage right now in your life, Danny, where you're getting ready to understand some things. You're maturing, you're growing up, and you're learning some things about culture and about some real possible threats that could be in the world today. But you're smart, and you've also got education, you've got understanding, you're street smart, and you're able to understand and know, how to navigate your learning time right now. That the whole thing wasn't about you as much as you were just seeing, you were observing in this dream. So
I might have another take on this. Danny, are you still there?
Yeah.
Have you watched Tiger King recently?
No, I haven't,
Okay.
but I've heard a lot about it.
Because that may have explained it too, because that's such a bizarre series on Netflix. Hey, thank you, Danny, for sharing that. I don't know, I'm not sure what to think of, but the fact that you can remember that much detail is impressive to me. Thank you so much for calling in. We're going to run out of time here. So a couple things that I did want to mention before we have to let you go, Cindy. When we talk about, especially people who don't remember their dreams, are those dreams that we don't remember still influencing us, maybe in a subconscious way?
You mean dreams that you've had, but you can't remember all of them, or are you remember?
I'm just talking about, if we dream every night, and I can tell you that I remember very few dreams. So I know I'm dreaming every night, but I obviously don't remember what those dreams are. Are those dreams that I don't remember still affecting me? Are they still
Possibly.
influencing me?
They could be, but I think that you'll have one. If it's a message that needs to get to you, I believe that you're going to have it. You'll remember it, and you'll be able to know exactly what to do. Or you'll run into, or you can get a hold of me. I can help you understand what a dream, one of those dreams could possibly mean. So there is that always. Dreams are layered. There's always a sub-layer of dreams, So, and so yes, they could be affecting you. But if it's one that you're going to be needing to take action on, then it'll be very vivid to you, and you'll be able to recall it, understand it, redream it is what happens. People, like when Danny was telling us a dream, she was redreaming the dream and telling us what she was dreaming while she said. That's why she knew so much detail, because it was vivid recall. she could just remember it as if she just had the dream as we were seeing it with her the first time. So yeah, they could be giving you some messages, but they'll surface to the top if it's something that you need to know and you need to remember, and then you'll be able to take action on it.
Some people think that a deja vu situation is actually a connection to a dream that we had that we didn't realize we had, or may not remember. Anything to the true about that?
Yeah, I think that's true. I think that can be true. I also think that it's that you're in the right place at the right time. So you're right on course. That's kind of how I look at deja vu. Like, I've been here before. Well, there's no time in heaven. There's no time except on earth. We're the only ones bound by time. And so, things are being lived out or played out. Our whole reel or stories being played out. And we're just riding course with the way that our lives should be going. And I think that's where I like to think that deja vu comes from.
Cindy,
but it can be also from another dream.
Yeah, Cindy, your website is cindymcgill.org. Your book,
That's right.
Your book is called "What Your Dreams Are Telling You: Unlocking Solutions While You Sleep." We've had several people in the chat room say, if I had a dream of a more personal nature, how would I contact Cindy directly to talk about it? How would they do that? Through the website?
Yes, through the website. I actually have a space there where they can submit a dream, and then I can interpret the dream. There's a small cost for it, for my time and to keep us going. But they can submit a dream to me there. They can also buy my book there. We have our books that we send out from that website as well. And there's a downloadable documentary that we did, and it was called Dreams, a documentary. And we filmed the whole thing at the Sundance Film Festival, and there's a number of different dreams that are discussed in there. There's examples of us interpreting on the streets for the Sundance Film Festival. And then so you can download that. It's a real great, it'll keep your attention. There's a lot of really good dreams. You'll probably find some dreams. A lot of people find dreams in that documentary that they've even had. So it's a fun one. I want to do another one. I'm anxious to do another dream doc. I think it's fun. So,
anybody who turns on the news these days has a lot of fodder for nightmares. What can we do to end this conversation? What kind of advice can you give people so that when they go to bed at night, they have a better chance of dreaming of something happy?
Yeah, it's what we told the First Lady when she only had happy dreams or night terror dreams. And I'm going to say that I want people to, because your words have power. So we need to remember that your words have power. So if you go to bed at night and you ask the Creator and you put your hands out and you say peace and I want peace, I want truth, I want to be able to be something revealing, a revealing dream, something that gives me hope and encouragement, and you can call that thing out and it will actually begin to happen for you. It will manifest for you. And if you do it repetitively and you call on the Creator and you ask for dreams to be given to you, there is a response. It will begin to take place. You might have to do it a few nights in a row, but I can almost guarantee you that it will begin to activate you in a positive way. And the positive words that you're speaking will actually begin to take and change the atmosphere in the room, change the atmosphere in your mind, change your atmosphere about yourself, and you'll begin to encounter, you'll begin to draw. It's almost like a magnet. It will draw a positive experience and a peaceful dream and a revealing dream and something that it'll almost, it's a reset in your mind. It's like when I'm doing identity recovery for people, I'll tell them to go into the mirror and tell themselves 10 wonderful things about themselves while they're looking at themselves. And what happens is it re-triggers your mind to begin to believe what you've just said about yourself. Because deep down, we know what we're made for. We know who we really are, and not negative things that people have said over us. The same thing is true with dreams. Begin to speak out and give encouragement. I want peace. I want revelation. I want truth. I want the Spirit of truth to give me a truth dream. I want to rest easy. and I want to be able to sleep well and wake up in the morning and have a message for me that is encouraging, and I can almost guarantee you it will happen.
Abby in our chat, I know we just asked this, I'm going to ask it one more time. Abby in our chat said, if I wanted to contact you, how would I do it?
My website, cindymcgill.org, and on there are all the links. You can send a dream in, you can get the book, you can get the documentary. I also teach dream workshops and courses, and we create them according to need and according to where people are. And so, yeah, there's all kinds of, and we're developing more and more resources.
That's great. And I'm going to end our conversation the same way I started it. It's a pleasure to have you on the show. I always enjoy our time together. Cindy, thanks so much for being here, and I look forward to the next time we can get together.
Oh, me too. Thank you so much for having me. It's always fun.
Beyond Reality Paranormal is hosted by J.V. Johnson and produced by Orion Palmer and Slick Eddie Edwards. Like us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please consider supporting the program either through your podcast platform, click on the link in the description, or on Patreon at Joha Productions. If you'd like to be a guest on Beyond Reality Paranormal, or you have a recommendation for a guest, contact our producer, Slick Eddie Edwards. Eddie is spelled with a Y at slickeddieedwards@gmail.com.